Welcome to Season 4 of the Reach Every Student podcast. Hey, I'm John Bergman, and I am back in my classroom starting to work. Kids will arrive in a couple of weeks. Teachers start on Monday. That's actually the day that you're going to be listening to this podcast. As I set up my room, I've been thinking about the lids down, laptops up, analog roots, how to make students really engage with the cognition. As I talk with administrators and teachers around the country, they are so worried that students are going to offload their cognition to ChatGPT. Now, if you've been listening to me, I'm not anti-AI, but I'm also not totally pro-AI. I'm taking this balanced approach that I want students to engage with the learning. And if you've been following the news at all, you know that there's been this techlash, I've talked about this, where parents, community members, even like policymakers are saying we need to get rid of the screens in our classrooms. It's damaging our students' cognition. Parents, community members, even policymakers, they're clamoring for some way to teach in the age of AI. I've been reading about how entire states are creating these AI frameworks, but then it's not reaching the actual classroom. So if you're a principal or a dean or a teacher, or you're in education, and I would encourage you to take a look at the MasteryFlip Framework. I've even made it so it's super easy. So if you are a particular administrator, I'm giving away 2 free licenses to any school for the administrator and 1 teacher of their choice. So yeah, go to the link in the show notes if that's interesting to you. 2 free seats to this course, 4-hour online course. Yeah, so what I want to talk about today is how I am retooling my class for the MasteryFlip, for teaching in the age of AI. So I have been talking about this extensively, but as I've been talking about it, the reality is I'm making changes even to what I've even put in the course. I need to update the course that we just referenced. Is a couple things. People have been taking this course and they've been giving feedback, and that feedback, as they have brainstormed, and I've been talking to some teachers, has helped me to rethink some of the methodology. So step number 1, of course, is the analog route. So I've spent a lot of my summer developing notebooks, right? So this is the notebook for a new class I'm teaching, new to me, AP, Advanced Placement Physics, calculus-based. And so I have been spending a lot of time developing the analog routes. What I'm actually doing is I'm doing all these physics problems. You can see John's handwriting on a big nasty physics problem. And I used to have my students type in the answers into a computer and it would tell them if they got the answer right or wrong. It was a great online tool to a point, but at that point what I really started to see is they could so quickly swipe, and they were bypassing that neural friction. They were using the forklift in the weight room. They were bypassing their thinking. And so I'm literally going to have this book right here in this room, right, as you see. And when they're done, they're going to check their answers with the assignments. They're going to do these in class, and then they're going to have to explain how to get it right when they do. And so that's going to be one big change, is just I'm really going to enforce the laptops in the backpack mode. You can see where they have to store their phones. So it's going to be really a tech-free class. By and large, I'm not 100%. So, I teach physics, and in physics, sometimes they're going to be using our laptops to do things like collect data through some online tools. They got Bluetooth connections to some of our cool science equipment-y stuff. So we'll be doing that. So I'm not going to be 100% no tech, but it's going to be very low tech because I want their minds on. And the big thing I've been thinking about, and this isn't my idea, Erin, one of the math teachers here at the school, took the MasteryFlip course, and then she gave me feedback, and she was brainstorming with me, and we had just a good exchange over email. And she's saying, I really like this idea of the Mastery Viva. This is the oral assessment, and how are we going to do the oral assessment? And I've been using the the Vivas in a certain way where I would just go around and just check if they understand it. And the change I want to make this year, actually I have 2 changes, one from Erin and one from somebody else, is I'm going to create it so that they if they understand the base knowledge, right, they get a 3, if you will. And if they can extend it to something else and go deeper, then that's 4-level thinking. And but I got some pushback. I was talking to a couple of teachers who've also taken the MasteryFlip course yesterday. They're in a different state, and as we were chatting, they said, "Yeah, but John, here's my concern. At least my parent community, my students are going to freak out if they don't get a 4, if they can't extend it, and maybe the parents will be upset." And I thought, yeah, that's probably going to happen here too. But I think I'm going to hold the line because I really want I want to insist on them going deeper. And see, now what could happen, hopefully, is that students are going to realize that they really have to deeply understand the concept. And to deeply understand the concept, they need to be able to know it cold and to be able to extend it. Again, I'm not sure what those questions are going to look like. I'm frankly going to have AI help me say, what would be some good example questions that would extend this into a slightly novel situation. I'm not trying to do a gotcha with my students. So that's going to be a big change for me, is how do I go from three level thinking, if you will, to 4-level thinking. But then what Erin, the math teacher I referenced earlier, she said, I want to build this into math, right? She's doing math. I want to build the vivas into my summative assessments. So I give summative assessments, and they've been very typical traditional tests, right? Students answer questions. I do use laptops for these under a lockdown browser. So I'm going to continue that process. But what I have added in there because of Erin's ideas is I'm going to make, as part of the summative test, I'm going to make the it count, but the summative test is going to have a Viva part. And so I've decided on 15%. Erin is going to go 10. I'm going to go 15%. So there's going to be one little 3-minute conversation. And my plan today is that I'm going to take a series of questions, put them in a hat, for lack of a better term, and we're going to pull a question out of a hat and say, boom, this is your question. Explain this to me. And again, as I was talking to these 2 teachers from Pennsylvania, that's where they're from, by the way, yesterday about this, we were having this conversation, and I thought, that was much easier in my geology class, which is much more like explain why a volcano does this or that or something like that. But when you're in a physics class, which tends to be more mathematical, what I really wanted to get at is, I don't want to just say, here's a math problem, solve the math problem. I could, but I really want them to conceptually explain things. Why would the velocity of this be 0 at, I don't know. I want them to conceptually, using their words, to explain something. So I'm going to emphasize the concept. And one reason that really is resonating with me is that I spent, in one of the previous podcasts I talked about where I was the dumbest person in the room, about where I attended the AP symposium. So much of that AP test is about justifying your answers, using your words to explain the physics behind it, irregardless of solving some math problem. And so I'm going to bring that into my physics classes as well. So these are the big changes as I think about and as I prepare for this coming year. Another interesting comment from Erin. She's brilliant, by the way. She's Teacher of the Year. She's that good, right? Teacher of the Year last year. Erin is, what she wants to do is she wants to use some of our AI tools to help prepare students for these vivas. So you can have an AI tool that basically mimics what the teacher might ask. They can then practice with the AI tool. Our school is using Flint K-12. I might also use the new tool that I'm playing around with, Articulate AI, as well, is to create sort of practice sessions so students get an idea, and they can now, AI isn't the cheater tool, it isn't the answer machine, it is the preparation simulation teacher, so that when they talk to the real teacher for the test, that'll make it work. So that I think that there's a lot to be explored in this. I don't know how it's all going to work out. I'm going to be honest, some of this is probably going to fail, but I'll tell you what it is. I hope I'm vulnerable enough to say, hey, that didn't work. I'd love you guys to provide insight, and as you take the MasteryFlip course, or just as you just try it just based on these podcasts, that's fine, to give me feedback on what's working, what's not working in your class. By the way, I'm excited for season 4 because part of season 4 is I'm going to start introducing guests. So you might notice I've very, very rarely had guests on this. It's just been me talking, and I will still do episodes like that. But coming up in the probably early September or whatever, I'm going to share the full conversations that I had with Dr. Tony Wagner of Harvard, Dr. Tina Grotzer of Harvard, Dr. Justin Reich of MIT, and some other people. These were the conversations that I had in preparing and doing the MasteryFlip. And when you take the MasteryFlip, if you've already done it, you'll note that I've got little excerpts from what my conversations with those guys, but they've also allowed me to publish these as full podcasts. They're little 30 to 40-minute conversations with these guys. So look forward to more guests who are exploring that. And speaking of guests, I would like you to be a guest. So if you are using the MasteryFlip model, I would love to record our conversation and then say, hey, what's working, what's not working, how's it working in your context, what's your context. So if you're at all interested in that, reach out to me through my website, johnbergman.com. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. And as I close, let me just remind you that if you're interested in taking the MasteryFlip course and you've not done it, go to the course. But if 4 or more people take it, then you get half off at your school. And if you want to just try this out with an administrator, and so it has to have an administrator sort of approval, and you will give 2 free licenses, one for your principal or whatever, and one for you to try it out. And if the school finds that useful, then we could talk about doing it large scale at your school. And as I close, I'm in a reflective mode because I'm about to start my 41st year. And you know, as I've told my students, I probably don't have many more years in education because I'm getting old. And I'm emotional that it's like, wow, I don't have much more time to do this thing that I love to do. And I want to make the biggest impact that I can with the students that I have. I've told many friends, maybe I've said this in the podcast, I don't know, but I feel like last school year, my 40th year in education, I had the most impact on students that I'd ever had in my career. And I think that's saying something after 40 years. And I want that trend to continue. And I think a lot of it is that I've focused much more on the human, on the students. And in our conversations with these Mastery Vivas has been so much more, it's about stuff, science and content and whatever. And I want this year to be the most impactful student-focused whatever year that I've ever had, better than last year. And I've seen the list of students who are going to be in this room in not but a week or so. And I am excited to meet them. Some of them I know. And yeah, so as you contemplate your school year, some of you have like a month to start, I don't know. We start so early here in Texas. I hope that you begin to think, wow, what matters is these humans that I have been entrusted with for a year, and you're going to have a special time to be with them. And yeah, so as you think about this school year, I hope you're walking in there with excitement about the lives that you're going to meet, the people, the humans that you're going to meet, the chances that you're going to have to touch them, not just with your content, but with your life. It's not my goal to teach them science, it is, but it's also to teach them life. And I hope that you catch that bug and know that what you do matters, teachers. I've said that many, many times. Welcome to season 4. Now go out and reach every student.